And for those of you who enjoyed it so much, I just want to assure you that much finer, more exciting entertainment is coming toward the end of the program. But now I have the great privilege of introducing our guest of honor. Certainly many of you who have seen the posters all over the city of New York have been wondering, what is it that's so different about Reverend Sun Myung Moon? How can he, a man from Korea, seem to inspire such dedication in his followers, which seems to even rival or surpass that of Billy Graham and Oral Roberts? How is he different from those great preachers and evangelists? The answer lies in one word. All of the other leaders of this time are preachers. They've been giving messages to help people understand revelations or teachings from God that have come down to us through the ages. Reverend Sun Myung Moon is a prophet. He brings to us a great new message of God given in this day in order to explain and to lead us to the solutions for the problems of our times. Reverend Moon was born in 1920 in part of what is now North Korea. He was raised in a Christian home. It wasn't easy to be a Christian at that time. Korea was under the domination of the Japanese, and they persecuted Christians because they wanted to establish their own state religion. Nevertheless, he was raised with a deep devotion to the Bible, and he was recognized by his family and friends as someone entirely different from his earliest days. He would often spend long hours studying the Bible or deep in prayer, while his friends were following other, lighter pursuits. In 1936, on Easter morning, when he was deep in prayer, Jesus Christ appeared to him and said that he had given him a message, that God had called him to work for the fulfillment of the new age, that the book of Revelation was now being fulfilled, and that he would have the message to bring to the Christians of the world to prepare them for this time of great fulfillment. Over the next 9 years, his spiritual senses were fully opened. He communicated with the highest realms of the spiritual world, often talking with the great figures recorded in the Bible, Moses, Noah, Abraham, and Jesus Christ himself. After World War II, when his country was liberated, he returned to his home and began to preach with great faith and great enthusiasm. Many were attracted to him. But as you know, Korea was not left in peace at that time, but instead the country was tragically divided, and the communist North completely persecuted religions even more vigorously than had the Japanese before them. Reverend Moon was identified as a man who, because of his faith in God and his faith in Christ, was dangerous to the state. He was thrown into a forced labor camp, a camp where few men were expected to live more than 6 months. Their life was so tough and their rations so meager. Many prisoners would die in the very act of eating, where the others would leap on them and pull the few grains of rice out of their dying mouths. In that environment, Reverend Moon would divide his food and give fully half of it away to someone weaker or in worse shape than himself, because he knew he could live on his faith in God. He spent long hours in prayer during those 3 years in the communist prison camp, but he never prayed from weakness. He only prayed that God would be comforted, that he would never desert his mission, that his faith in God was absolute, even under those most terrible material conditions. And his prayers were answered. In 1950, when the UN forces landed at Hungnam, his prison camp was freed and he fled to the south. There, in a refugee camp, he began to preach that this was a great new day of hope, that God was working to bring the kingdom of heaven on earth. Who of us would have been able to believe him at that time? In a country torn apart by war, the economy in chaos, families divided, things seemed to be at the very bottom. And yet he was preaching a message of hope. It's a great testimony to the faith of Reverend Moon and to the power of his inspiration that he was able to attract such a dedicated following, which is now spread through 50 countries throughout the world. If we are at all to realize those things which Jesus promised us in the Bible, as Christians we must come together. God has given us one Bible, but there are over 400 different denominations based on slightly different interpretations of that same Bible. This evening, Many of us will hear new things for the first time. They may seem to contradict some of what we've heard before. But if all 400 groups of Christianity are to come together, it must be because God reveals a new truth which clarifies those ambiguities. This message is the revelation received by Reverend Moon. This work has done so much to revive the spirit of Christianity in a country which has been having a decline in church membership. We've received many telegrams of support from civic and national leaders to encourage this work. I'd like to share just a few of them with you. The first came from an official here in the city of New York. I'm delighted to add my voice to the congratulations of your speaking tour. Your outstanding contributions to religion, science, and international understanding, and particularly your great work with young people, bring not just a day of hope, but a lifetime of hope for all fortunate enough to come in contact with you. My best wishes for your continued success. Signed, Donald Maines, President of the Borough of Bronx. And there have been many others as well. My best wishes from Capitol Hill to all of you. This country needs more smiling faces and more dedicated belief in prayer. As you pray for a greater America, may God guide all of us along this path together. Signed, James M. Collins, Congressman for the United States Congress. The National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution warmly congratulates you for your successful efforts in fostering the restoration of patriotism and religion in today's America. Never before in the United States have we so needed faith in the Almighty and love of country. May God grant you many more years in your noble and glorious work. Signed, Dr. Warren S. Woodward, Executive Director, Sons of the American Revolution. And finally, congratulations to Reverend Sun Myung Moon and all of those involved in the Day of Hope speaking tour. Thank you for the inspiration of your movement and what it has brought to America, particularly for the work being done with our young people. I am convinced that our nation must return to the basic moral and spiritual foundation upon which this nation was founded. I very much regret that I could not be with you this evening. I had hoped to be able to join you, but I send you my warmest, best wishes. Signed, Charles W. Sandman, Member of the United States Congress. And there have been many others, far too numerous to read tonight. But I think you can see that the work of Reverend Sun Myung Moon has done much to rekindle the spirit of Christianity and to really bring about a new future for Christianity. This evening, I'd like to ask you all to join with me in giving a very warm welcome to the founder of the Unification Church International. May I present the Reverend Sun Myung Moon.